Hello, my name's Hunter Provin, and I'm the phylogeographer. Let me move this closer. I have a new keyboard, and it's taken up some of my table space, so the laptop was further away. If you watch most of my videos, you'll see that my main research focus is J2b-L283, which is my specific Bronze Age line of J2b. It's found mostly in Europe today, but originated in the northern Caucasus. If this is your line, like perhaps most of my subscribers, then please stay tuned because I'm going to cover some of the recent groundbreaking developments regarding Bronze and late Copper Age ancient samples found in Moldova and the North Caucasus in an upcoming video, which links our ancient ancestors to Yamnaya and populations from the North Caucasus that contributed to the ethnogenesis of the Yamnaya. However, I'm also interested in J2b in general, which includes all lines descended from the J2b most recent common ancestor, who lived about 16,000 years ago, likely somewhere between the internationally recognized boundaries of Iran, Azerbaijan, and Georgia, going by the most ancient samples yet found, which are 10,000 years old. The technique I've been using to advance the research into J2b-L283 origins is to identify samples whose STRs are divergent from all others and recommend some cheaper initial SNP testing, either individual SNPs or a panel at YSEQ. Because my funds are limited, I just cannot jump straight to a WGS test or Big Y, which by the way adds a $100 surcharge for the BAM files and systematically misses some parts of the Y chromosome that can be covered by WGS and can be useful for male line genetic genealogy. So I can't afford these more expensive tests for every potentially interesting sample. So I pay a smaller amount and learn for sure whether or not each sample is interesting. And then I upgrade based on my interest in that particular sample and my funding level. So it's triaging, just like in a hospital you triage who do you have to operate on first, who's the most important. It's the same thing if you have a limited amount of money with YDNA research. I also think you can get more donations from your haplogroup research community if you rely on that to upgrade to a WGS if you have done some preliminary SNP testing with which to explain the importance of upgrading a particular sample. One such sample from Italy has recently yielded an unexpected result from the J2b-M12 panel at YSEQ. Based on his 37 STR query output from STR Matchfinder, I had initially expected DeAngelis, who traces his male line to Arcevia, Ancona, in the Marche region of Italy, to represent a rare line of J2b-L283. However, his J2b-M12 SNP panel result at YSEQ indicated that he belonged to a rare line of J2b-Z2453, possibly related to an anonymous sample from a scientific study on men from Florence, whose next closest relatives are about 13,000 years distantly related to anyone else who has done an NGS test. The next closest living relatives of these men include men from all over Europe and the Middle East, and include a 7,000-year-old sample from Haji Firuz Tepe in western Azerbaijan province of Iran. I have not yet accessed the STRs of the scientific sample from Florence, which goes by the code name NA20588. Depending on how many STRs were able to be confidently extracted, it may be possible to get a rough idea of the relationship between DeAngelis and this anonymous sample from Florence. I say this because there's a definite possibility that these two samples form their own subclade, meaning they share a number of SNPs in common, descending from a most recent common ancestor that was already living in Italy. Regardless, advanced SNP testing of DeAngelis is required to get the most accurate estimate possible of this possible Italian subclade of J2b Y18039. So while we may have some ideas about when migrations that are known from the archaeological record or from other studies on DNA, including ancient autosomal DNA. We have ideas about when certain migrations took place in the past, but regarding this specific Y-DNA line in question, we don't have any way to exclude a time for the migration from ultimately the Caucasus or Western Iran 13,000 years ago that ultimately ended up in Italy for this particular potential Italian subclade. We don't have any way to exclude a certain time of when this migration happened unless we have an upgrade of an advanced SNP test for DeAngelis. And then, depending on the age of their subclade, we could assume that the migration happened before the most recent common ancestor of those two men had lived. But it could potentially have been up to 13,000 years ago. I'm just going by the Y-DNA relationships. But now that's a segue into why did I give the title of this YouTube video that the migration could have been in the late Neolithic? Because according to someone that analyzed a sample from Monte Canelas, Portugal, this was posted on the Gen Archivist by a user Sefesakueu. He noted that there's a sample Monte Canelas 337a.sg/MC337a is positive for J2b-Z42957. This is a relative under J2b-Z2453, and this is a 3,000 years BCE sample from Portugal. So if some distant cousin of J2b-Z2453 was able, if this is some distant cousin of this Italian subclade, was able to be living in Portugal by 3000 BCE, then I don't think we can exclude the possibility that this particular Italian subclade, possibly Italian subclade of J2b-Z2453, might also have been already living in Italy by 3000 BCE. So this is one line of reasoning: is, well, if we don't have other data that can prove that something was impossible, then if your cousin was able to do some particular type of migration from one place to another, then why would it be impossible that your male line ancestors couldn't have been able to do that as well? That's how I look at it. DeAngelis has joined the J2b not M241 project on family tree DNA, and has communicated to me his preference to do a big Y test, but he's looking to see if anybody would donate for that. So you could, if you're interested in this haplogroup and you would like to donate to advance the research, then you can contact the project.